Greetings everyone, this is your video on how to create a Google Classroom and how to use it within your class. And to do that, the first thing you're going to need to do is go to the tiles over here in your Google setup, and you're going to look for the icon that says Classroom, and you'll click on it. And as it loads, you'll notice that it brings up this page. You'll notice I have quite a few classrooms created already because I'm heavily invested and I use this quite a bit. You may have nothing because this might be the first time you've ever done this. So if that's the case, the next step for you or for anybody who's going to create a class for this class, you're going to go to the plus symbol over here on the right. You're going to hit Create Class, and it's going to bring up this list, this dialog box that we're going to fill out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a class name, and then you're going to add your section, your subject, and your room. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'll fill this out and then I'll come right back. Alright, I'm back. I've filled out the information. I decided to name my class Third Hour Accounting 1. I put the hour on there at this point so when it shows up over here you can see it and I can identify which hours are which hours, especially if I have multiple of the same class. Just so happens I only have one Accounting 1 this year. Section 1, you can call that whatever you want. If you want to call it 101, whatever the case may be, that's totally up to you. Generally, I don't fill the section out. I just leave it blank, or I might put first hour, second hour, third hour, because you can see in the background over here, that's where that will show up. That's the section heading. The next item is accounting. That's just the subject. Again, it's not going to show up necessarily. It's just a backfiller of information. And then I also like to put the room number because students can look that up if they need to. Alright, so then we're going to hit Create. And as it's creating, the next thing that you need to consider is the picture that you're going to put in the background. As soon as this loads, we'll get ready to put that in there. I'm going to pause until it does. Okay, after a little bit, mine finally loaded. This is the main page that your students will see every time they come into your classroom. But before they can come into your classroom, you have to do a couple things. The first thing I like to do is to give my classroom an identity. I like to select a theme, if you will. So I'm going to go over here to select theme, and I'm going to click that option. And they'll give you a different variety. They do it by subject area, arts, sports, other, so to speak. You can pick your theme. I'm just going to find one in here. I'm going to go math and science. And since we're heavily into accounting, we'll use this chart and this calculator option, and we're going to select that as our class theme for this semester. If you wanted to, you could upload a photo. Maybe you wanted to take a photo of yourself. I have done that in the past as well. Please know that certain photo sizes won't work. PNG files tend to be the best kind of files to put in there. So just giving you a heads up on that if you wanted to add your own photo. But with that being selected, the next thing you need to know, you need to be aware of, is this class code right here. This class code is how your students will join. It is also how you will invite me to your class. In some cases, this will happen. Some of you, your class codes are for only the people within your institution or your school district. And that also happens to be with my district as well. I can't share outside of the people who are in our Google setup. So if that's the case, still share the code with me, and you'll be creating a video later on in these lessons that will have you walk me through what your classroom is about. And that's where I'll check all this stuff to make sure you've done it all correctly, if you can't get the code to share with me, okay? And I'll let you know. As soon as you send the code, I'll try to look at it and go into it. And if I can't, I'll tell you that I look forward to seeing it in your video. So please don't worry about that if it doesn't work completely. I've made arrangements for that to happen either way. With that being said, if you want to display your code to your students, there's a little box you can click here, and it'll bring it up big, especially if you have a projector at your school, so everybody can see it. I usually do that on the first day to get all my kids invited and make sure they can belong to my classroom. Okay? So that's that. That's pretty much set up everything you need as far as the face of your classroom. The next piece is to start looking at the different tabs we have across the top. Right now we're in the stream view, and so in the stream view there's a couple things you can do. You can look at upcoming work, and this will all be based on when you create assignments, and they'll show up over here if you have something that is work-wise that you've assigned that is due soon. It makes it really convenient to go click on it, look at it, and see who's turned it in, or who's working on it, and so forth and so on. There's nothing here because this is a brand new class that I've created. Towards the end of this video, I'll show you more stuff from classes that I've had in the past, and you can see how that kind of looks. Okay, so that's one piece. The next piece is share something with your class. This is an easy way to get your students a message. Maybe there's a test that you want to remind them about. Maybe there's some information you wanted to give them before class starts, or there was a question you wanted them to answer as a bell ringer. You can simply type your question in here. Let's make it a real question. How about that? What is a debit? And you can post that. Post that. It'll come up here. And then they can add a class comment to answer the question. There are other ways to ask the question like this, and I will show you that when we get to the classwork piece. But this is a quick way. If you were just walking around the classroom, you wanted to type out, share something quickly with your class, ask them a quick question, that's one way to do it, okay? So I'm going to cancel because I'm not going to add a comment or anything like that. That's the stream. And what the stream will end up doing, every time you post something, it will have a list of these items in order from the most recent to the furthest along that you have posted. And that's just to keep track of everything you ever posted for the semester or the year if you use it for a full year. Okay, so that's the stream. The next piece we're going to look at is classwork. Probably the most useful tool that you will find, and it's probably going to be the most important. Some things that I want you to do with this particular classwork setup is we're going to first go to the Create button, and you're going to click that. You're going to add, you have options to add 6 different pieces. The first piece I want you to add, and you can pick the topic that you're going to talk about, but I want you to add a topic, and mine is going to be Chapter 1, and we're going to call it the accounting equation. And so after I add this topic, everything that I create that is assignment, quiz, question, or material, I can now put, I can put in this category of Chapter 1 accounting equation because those are the elements that I want them to see in that particular chapter. And so you can really organize the information you're sending your kids by putting in different topics. One of the things that I've done in the past, before I even send assignments or anything else out, I will create all of my topics for all the chapters I'm going to cover, and you can move them in a different order, like up and down if you have multiple chapters and you want them to be in a different place. Because we all know, at least in my experience, and I'm assuming you have too, you've been teaching out of a textbook or you've been using the ideas and the thoughts from it, but the chapters aren't in the sequence that you want them. So you can rearrange that sequence in here if you want to. You can also rename, delete, you can copy the link and send it to somebody if you really want to. If you were like typing out an email and you wanted them to have a link to that specific assignment, that's one way to do that. That's one reason you would do that. I don't need you to do that for my assignment. What I need you to do is to create at least one topic, okay? After you've created your topic, the next thing I want you to do is I'd like you to create an assignment. So if you click on assignment, this is what the assignment dialog box looks like. Give it a title. So I'm going to say Chapter 1 Practice. Whoops. All right. Any extra instructions you can plug in here. Please answer the following questions provided. And then if you want to attach a piece, and this is something that I want you to do, I want you to attach a form, a Google Sheet, a slides presentation, and a doc. Something that you have that you could put in here. Now, maybe you haven't created a form, a sheet, a doc, or a presentation yet. But in these assignments that I have for you in this course, you will create one and you could use those to plug in here. Or maybe you're in the instance where you've already done all of this, you've already put that stuff in there, you have a Google Classroom that exists right now. Give me that and don't reinvent the wheel. Just show me what you've done and show me that you have that competence and I will give you credit for that. So just making sure you cover the bases for what I'm wanting to see so you can get the credit for the class, okay? So with no further ado, you're going to create an assignment and you're going to include each one of those pieces. I'd also like to see if you could post an assignment that has a video with it, either from YouTube. You can do that through URL or you can do that through video search. You can just paste the link in there and it'll add it. Let me go back here. You can get your files that you have already created through your Drive, and you may look at recent, you may look at My Drive, shared, starred, or maybe you need to upload something. That's fine too. It's not limited to just Google Files, and you can attach images or you can upload from your computer other files if you would like. I'm not going to require you to upload other files, but I do want you to add a video, and I do want you to add the 4 pieces from the Google Apps, the Forms, Sheets, Docs, and Slides, okay? So please make sure you include that. As you do this, try to give it a due date, and you can select, so let's just do 28. That's pretty simple. The topic, so we can put it in the place that we want it to be for students to access easily, and it gives us a frame of reference to say, okay, students, open up your classroom, go to Chapter 1 Accounting Equation topic, and in there you'll find your first assignment. That's the easiest way to do that. You can mess around with originality reports. I'm not going to worry about that with this particular class. I'd save that for an advanced class a little bit further along. We don't need to mess with that for this particular assignment, okay? The last piece on putting in an assignment, down here you'll see the assign button, but there's also a down arrow. This means you can schedule an assignment, so we can send it for another day, another time if we want to, if we don't want to do it today. So that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and it works really well. The other thing you can do is you can save the draft. Maybe you're not ready to send it out just yet, so save the draft and you can update it and then assign it later. Okay? So again, I want you to assign these. Scheduling and saving a draft is just something I want you to know for information, but you do not have to do that for me. Okay? So that's creating an assignment. Make sure you create your own. I'm just going to go ahead and submit this. I know I don't have an attachment, but please make sure you have attachments with yours of some form, whether it's a link. This right here, you can post a link. I like to do the get shareable links for my documents, like my docs, my slides, my sheets, and my forms, and I'll paste it in there and add the link that way. That's one way to share your information. You know, there's always the Drive too if you want to go back and find it through the Drive. So there's 2 ways to do that. So I'm going to hit assign. Excuse me. And you'll notice under there's Chapter 1 Practice underneath my Chapter 1 Accounting Equation topic. Okay? The next thing we can do besides assignment, you can do a quiz assignment. I'd like you to put one of these in there as well. So Chapter 1 quiz, pretty straightforward. I'm not going to give any specific instructions here. This is the easiest way to put the form in because they're going to create a form for you already. Now this is a blank. It's called blank quiz for a reason. So you got to open it up and you give it a title. Whoops. Give it a title, Chapter 1 quiz. This is not cooperating with me. And then you can start adding your questions. Okay, your questions are right here. If you want more questions, the add question button is here. There's some other features in here that I taught Google Basic that you likely know how to use already. So go ahead and add those. If you don't, I would recommend you look up your options for that, or you can use the quiz that I teach you how to make later on in this scenario. Okay, but do try to add a quiz. This is the easiest way to do it. When I mentioned adding a form, a quiz, sheets, slides, and docs, this is the easiest way to do that. Okay. So that's the quiz. I'm going to close that out, and it'll be all set. You can do grade importing if you want to, and it'll send it automatically to the grade book after everybody takes it, which you would have to put the answers to the grades in there as well. Again, put a due date on it. This is just practice, but put a due date on it. Put it in a topic, and then assign your quiz. And you'll see it'll load up right here with your Chapter 1 practice. After they did their practice, then they can take their quiz. And then we can go to the next piece. Maybe you have an open-ended question you want to ask. I want to see one of these in there in your underneath your topics as well. So how many debits does it take to equal 1 credit? And it's that simple. You can give it some points. You can also, oops, I wanted to make it 10. You can also make it something that's ungraded. You don't have to grade everything, obviously. It could just be a question, and it can be worth 0 points. Give it a due date again. Put it in your topic. Excuse me. If you want to change the type of question it is, you can make it multiple choice and then add your answers in there. It'll look something like this. You can also see the class summary as they're answering it. And the students will get to see that live too. I'm going to keep mine a short answer. And you can make it so students can reply to each other as well. I'm going to leave that part up to you. Once you're ready to ask it, just hit the ask button. Again, you can schedule this as well. I'm just going to go ahead and ask it because I want to see it. I would like to see one from you as well. And these little icons are going to show me if you've put these pieces in there. So I'll know if it's a question, I'll know if it's a quiz or an assignment. The next two things, or the next thing is a material. Maybe you have some chapter 1 notes. Again, this can be done through your slides. Maybe your slides are your notes, or maybe it's a doc. So you can attach that link in here, or you can pull it from your drive, whatever you're thinking. But I want to see something that is a class material underneath your heading, your main heading. You can give it a brief description and make sure it goes underneath the topic. And then I'm going to post that. Excuse me. All right. The next one, reuse post. Now this one is going to be a challenge for you unless you've done this already before. But reusing a post means if I have multiple classes and I posted to one, but I forgot to post to all of them at the same time, which I'll show you in a second, you could go back. Here's maybe I had an advanced accounting class that I wanted to pull a previous question from. I could go to that and I could open up that post and I could reuse it. And I'll pause for a second. Okay, it's now loaded. So I could totally reuse this whole same post if it was pertaining to the chapter 1 subject that I just taught. And I didn't attach it to the extra classes that I had. So that's one way. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just reuse post and send it to the next class. Okay? And everything else is the same as far as assigning an assignment. So I'm going to close that. I'm not going to do that. You technically don't have to do the reuse. That's just for information, but it might make it easier for you in the future. One of the things I do want to talk about when you create an assignment, I forgot to mention this a second ago, you can reuse a post, or if you have multiple classes that are the same, you can select those same classes that you want to send that to, and now you'll see over here it's for 7 classes, whatever this thing is I'm about to post. Okay? So if you have multiple classes, don't feel like you have to keep doing this over and over again. It's really convenient to just send it to those classes by clicking those little boxes and sending it to everybody at once. Okay? Especially if you're that English or history teacher that teaches the same thing every hour. Alright? Alright, I'm not going to send mine out because I don't really want all my classes to have that. I just wanted to show you that. That is up to you if you want to make that adjustment. That's again just information for you to have. Okay, I'm going to close this. And now I want to go back to create. Now, ideally, this is the simplest way to set up everything that you have, but there are other pieces that can help you. So over here, there's the Google Calendar. So if I click on Google Calendar, it'll take me out here and it'll show me everything that I have. And you're going to see some of my other assignments that I have assigned to my students in the past from my other classes. And this is super convenient because then it can help you keep track of when you've assigned things and also when they are due. Okay, so I highly encourage you to take a look at your calendar when you're wondering, oh, when did I put that out there? When did I send that? It also has it, if we go back to classwork, it has it, the date you posted it right here too. But it's just another accountability measure. You could share this calendar with your students as well, and they can see that. They should also be able to see it on their end as well. So it should be a simple piece for them. The other thing over here is the class drive folder. This class drive folder is going to house all the documents that you submit through your assignments, your materials, your quizzes. Everything will be saved in there. So if you ever need to go back and adjust something and you can't find it in here for some reason, that's where you can go get it. Okay, so ideally you will create an assignment, a quiz, a question, one of those open-ended question pieces, and a material that you can put in here. That's what I want to see in here. And try to make sure it's a sheet, a slide, a form, and a Google Doc. Something of that nature for each one of those things. After that, the other two elements I'm going to show you, I'm going to have to use a different class to show you because I don't have any people invited to this. Plus, I don't have any grades to grade because nobody's done any assignments. So, to go to my other classes, there's this 3-bar piece over here. And there's another thing that I'm going to show you after this. It's called the to-do list. But I'm going to take you to my 6th-hour entrepreneurship class. So this is what a class would look like that's been going for a semester so far. This is the stream from start to finish here. So the most recent post I made was yesterday. But the thing I want to show you is people. So your students will populate it here, and I'm going to go through this quick. And there's some actions you can take. You can email, you can remove, you can mute them if you don't want them talking in your classroom. And this is all, again, just informational. The other piece is grades. Now, I don't keep track of grades in here, so you're not going to see anything filled out because we have a system called Skyward. They are working on putting this together and making it so the grades that I put in here will transfer there automatically. We haven't completely got that figured out yet, but they're working on it, and I'm hoping soon that it'll work out. You'll also notice, see all these missing pieces? Well, when I put an assignment out for an October sub-lesson plan, the plan is for longer than the day that I just submit that. So I often tell my kids, don't ignore the missing piece for me right now, because when it's a sub-lesson plan, I'm usually coming back to make sure everybody got everything, and I just set that date to set that date because I'm putting it out there quick. However, I would tell you it's probably best practice to go ahead and put the dates that you want to do and stay steadfast on those deadlines, or don't put it at all. Don't put a deadline at all. And in some of these cases, like this one right here, they don't have a deadline at all. So there's no due date up there. So it's up to you how you want to deal with that. I just thought I'd show you what it looks like. This is what a real grading scenario looks like. You can look at class average. You can sort it by a variety of ways. But at the end of the day, this is what it looks like in the grade section. Okay? But no grades are visible. My students were cool. They said I could show you guys this because they knew their grades weren't going to be visible anyway. Okay, that's the 4 main headings across the top here. There's one more thing or 2 more things I want to show you. The first thing is the to-do list. So if I go to the to-do list, these are items to review, and these are items that I have reviewed. And so there's 2 different views. Now again, I don't put grades in here, so you don't really see a lot of items reviewed, but what you will see is who is assigned and who is turned in, and that is super handy. And so if I want to take a look at this 3 business analysis, you can come out here to the outside and you can mark as viewed if you want to, but what I like is that you can click on it and it'll take you to this grading section and it'll show you who was assigned and who was turned in. Okay, now here's the thing that you got to make sure you go in and look at. All of these things have been turned in. You can see all their slides sitting right here. So sometimes you need to make sure they hit submit. Sometimes they'll put it in there, but they won't hit submit. They just save it as a draft. So be careful going back and forth and understand that they think they've turned it in, but if you see this assigned and not turned in, you may have to go back in and make sure they've hit submit once they go into their view. Okay. If you don't want to, there's 2 views here. There's the instructions view as well, and Hayden decided to leave me a little message here. So there's a little bit of instructions, and you can help walk them through those instructions if you need to. So there's 2 different views when you're looking at your to-do list and you're looking at on looking at grading things. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to look at the main view of my entrepreneurship class. The other piece that I wanted to show you was the settings piece. As we get 24 hours or 24 minutes into this, anytime you can go in and change the class description, entrepreneurship 6th hour. I would like you to add a class description here if you haven't done so already. Please just make it brief. It doesn't have to be super difficult. And then some other pieces like grading calculation you can mention if you want to, or grading categories. I'm not going to require any of that at this time because in all likelihood, if you've just created this, you're not going to have any students in there to manipulate that anyway, or need to manipulate that. So we'll keep it simple for now. Making sure you have these things filled in here, And this is just for information again. Like if you wanted to see it, you can change the show condensed notifications. You can show all. You can hide notifications. That's up to you. You can show student posts and comments. Only teachers can post or comment. Those are some things that you can manipulate too. Okay, so keep that in mind as you create your class and you go into the settings. Those are some changes that you can make if you want to. I'm not interested in seeing your class details beyond the class description. Excuse me. Other than that, that is as basic as Google Classroom can get. It's a really handy tool. I really like it. It keeps me organized and it keeps me going as far as when I'm gone, especially. I can easily send out work to kids and the sub knows. When I tell them they need to go to their Google Classroom, it keeps it really, really simple. Okay? So, best of luck. Ask me some questions on Classroom if you get stuck. I'm happy to help you at any time. I've been using it for about 5 or 6 years now. I got to be on the pilot, and it's changed a lot since its infancy. I used to use a thing called Google Community. I don't use it anymore because it's not effective. It can't be shared in a way that I'd like it to. So that's Google Classroom. We'll move on to Adobe Spark next, and we'll give you another option as far as a classroom management system is concerned. All right, thank you for your time.